All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to start relayering some of the objects. So to make it easier for us to do, we're going to isolate some of the layers. So you can do this a couple ways. I can come over here and I can pick isolate layer, or I can go to the menu over here and we can go to format, and under layer tools, we've got isolate layer as well. So I can go either way. I'm going to click here and it's going to ask me to specify layers by selecting entities. So I'm going to zoom in and I know I want this line because I know this is the property line. So we're going to select that. There is one other feature that we're going to use as well, which is this chain link fence or construction fence. So let's go ahead and isolate that as well. We want the sidewalk. So I'm going to select that. So you can see down here, even though it's not highlighting, possibly that could just be a graphical issue just with your computer. Um, but it did show that I've got three of them. So I got the boundary, got the sidewalk, I got the construction fence. Let's go ahead and make sure we grab the curbs. So I've got five so far. We also want to grab, I think these curbs are all on the same layer, so they may be duplicates, but we'll select them anyways. We'll pick this gutter pan as well. And then we'll also come down here and see if we can find, we may not have a building outline. So we'll worry about the building later. We'll show you how to delete that block. But if we start with the property line and the curb line and the construction fence, that's a good place to start. And then we'll take a look at the building next. So now that I have those selected, I got 8 total. I'm just going to press enter, and that turns off everything except the objects that we've selected. And obviously, you can see this is on a layer, so that's probably I call that bad CAD, where the CAD drafter put that on the improper layer, right? So we're just going to ignore it. So what we're going to do next is let's start with the property line. So you can see that this property line is made up of 4 lines. So by selecting, left clicking on each one, there may be, yep, there's another one over here. So let's not forget this one. So just zoom in to make sure that we grab that, right? So it's got 5 lines, and you're just going to go over to properties, and you can see there's 5 lines, and we're just going to change the layer. So you can see it's on this really strange layer, and we're just going to select that, and we're going to scroll down until we find our STK property line layer. So I'm going to select that, and you can see it disappears just because, remember, we isolated all the layers except the ones we picked, which is fine. It's going to put those, um, we know that we modified that and moved that one. So let's do the same thing with the construction fence. Now with the construction fence, we still have to make a new layer. So let's go back to layer manager. Let's create a new layer. We'll call it STK dash construction. So I'll just shorten it up, FENC, and we can make that one we don't like to use yellow, so let's go ahead and make it green. We don't like to use yellow because if you're on a white background out on a controller, just kind of from the older versions of SCS 900, and you've got a white background, it's hard to see out on the in the field. So we're gonna try not to use yellow. So now I can come in here and I can select this construction fence. So now you can see how it's highlighting it. All right, so we're just gonna make sure we pick up all the fence, and we probably could join these, and then we would just be selecting the one, but we'll do the join later. So same idea. We're gonna come over here and we're gonna scroll down until we find the STK and construction fence layer. So now that's on that layer. Now that one's gonna stay on because it wasn't created when we did the isolate. So that's fine. We just know that that's on that layer. All right. Um, Now we can do the sidewalk. Sidewalk going to be pretty easy. We could just go to our layer command and let's turn that layer off. So I'm going to go to format and layer tools, and we can freeze the layer, hide the layer. So we're going to hide the layer and we're going to hide that layer. So now let's do the sidewalk. So we're going to come up in here and I can do the same thing. Oh, let's get out of that. Escape out of that command. So I'm just going to come in here and do a crossing window around those objects. pick this one, and this one. And then we will pan over. So using your wheel mouse, pressing it down, we can do a crossing window around those. Pick that line as well. And from here, again, we're gonna come over to our, it's not a curb line layer. We want it to be on the sidewalk layer. So when our crew goes and stakes out the sidewalk, they can select that layer. So it looks like well, these may be duplicate lines. So we're going to, let's turn that layer back on. So if we go to our layer filter and go STK, we see the sidewalk. It's not visible. So I'm gonna make it visible. Yeah, and you can see that there's like a rectangle and then there's those two lines. So if we turn that off, we don't need these two lines anymore. So we can select them and delete them, right? And get rid of them. So now we've got our curbing to deal with. So our 1A curb starts here, and you can see there's already a break in those lines, so that's fine. So let's start by just doing a crossing window. So I'm gonna left click and then I drag a crossing window across those objects. And then I'm gonna do the same thing down here. Now, notice that this goes all the way through, and in here we've got our 1B curbing, and this is our 1A curbing. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna hold my control key down, or actually, is it my shift key? My shift key down. So I'm gonna hold my shift key down and select those two lines. I don't want to move those yet. And now that I'm thinking about it, we're actually got 1A curb top and back. So I'm gonna hit escape and let's start that again. So let's do the back of curb first. So I'm just gonna pick this line. We'll pick that arc. And we're just gonna work our way around picking these lines. Now again, as I'm thinking through this, I would probably do join all these and do the editing before I do the relayering. But since I started this way, that's probably, we might as well just continue with this. So if we grab all of those, right, and we're just going to repeat that process. I'm going to come over here. We're going to scroll down until we find the 1A top back of curb, right? So B is bottom. We probably should change that to BOT so we know exactly what we're doing. But top back of curb is that one. Now we can select all of this with a crossing window, grabbing those and that one, and we'll change that one to the 1A bottom of curb. Okay, and then we will repeat that process over here as well. So this is all top back of curb is this one. That's where the handicap ramp is going to be. So we're going to put that on top back of curb for our 1B. So we scroll down, we're going to find 1B, top back of curb. And then we will select all these lines, which would be and there's a little one down in here. Don't forget that one. We did forget that one for top back of curb. But let's put this on 1B bottom of curb. And then we'll make sure we take that and put that on 1B back of curb. So we'll come down here, 1B top back of curb. And now we do got the gutter pan. So let's go ahead while we're here, create another layer. And we'll pick new layer and we'll call it STK gutter, right? Now the gutter, it could be the edge of pavement, but in this case, we know that's the edge of gutter. Let's make that cyan. Usually I use cyan for anything that's concrete. So we got STK gutter, and I can grab all those, and you can see it says layer varies. We're gonna make that gutter. Okay, same idea is that the gutter is still on because it wasn't created when we did the layer isolate. So let's take a look at this. All right, so these are all same thing. These are 1A. This is the bottom of curb. So we're going to change that to STK1A bottom of curb. And then we'll change all of this, doing a window selection to the 1A top back of curb. Okay. And then same thing down here. We've got these lines we're going to select. So this isn't too bad because we don't have too many of these, but there is some, like I said, if we had joined these, then we wouldn't be picking, we still got to pick them all, but it really doesn't matter whether you do this first and then join them, or you join them and then do this. So it's kind of really what you want to do, but you just want to be, methodical in your workflow. There's no right or wrong order. So this is my bottom of curves, my 1A bottom of curve. And then this is going to be my 1A top back of curve. Right? So we'll pick all those. We'll make those the 1A top back of curve. And then it's kind of the same thing. It looks like we got a couple little line segments in here. This one should be my 1A bottom of curve. And this would be my top back of curve. This is why it's nice to do it this way, because sometimes you can see the pieces that you missed. So then we can kind of come over here again. We've got our back of curb, top back of curb for our 1B. So we're going to come in and change that to our 1B top back of curb. We're going to change this all to the gutter pan. So once you do it, you start getting into a rhythm, and it starts to be a little bit smoother. So here is the top back of curve for the 1B. So 1B top back of curve. Oops, I think I messed that up actually. So let's go back. 1B top back of curve. Yeah, I did. So this is actually not the top back of curve. It's actually my 1B bottom of curve. So make sure that we fix that now before we forget. So 1B bottom of curve, right? So we can turn off that top back of curve there. And that's actually probably the gutter pan. Let's put that on the gutter pan layer. Right. And then we got this here. We've got our take care of the gutter pan. Let's do this side as well. So we know this is gutter pan coming all the way down. Grabbing this and that. And we're setting that to our gutter pan. Oop, missed it. Gutter pan layer. I think that line and these lines here actually. This one is gutter pan as a gutter pan as well. So we want to make sure we set that on that layer. And we'll grab this point, that line, this line, this line. Again, I'm just using my wheel mouse to kind of really pan and zoom. And as long as I don't hit the escape, everything should stay selected. And I'm grabbing all of the bottom of curb there for the 1B. So we'll set that on the 1B bottom of curb layer. And that way we can just really select the window like this. And make sure we pick up that piece. We can set that to the 1B top back of curve. So now we got this one down here, and I left this one for last. We're going to leave the gutter pan on for a minute because we got these two lines here. What we need to do is break this line here. So we're going to go over to the menu, and we will come down to the modify where we have the split option. So when I click split, I'm going to select this line here, and it's going to ask me for my second point. So if you, again, remember this from the earlier other class, if you right click and pick first, I'm going to snap to the endpoint of this line. So my endpoint snap is on. I'm going to grab that point, and now that it was the first point, and now the second point is going to be the same point. And now you can see that that line and that line are separate. We're going to right click and repeat to split. So I'm going to select that. Pick this line now, and same thing. Even though it's not touching there, I'm just going to pick here. It's going to project that down, but I got to make sure that's the first point. So I pick first point, pick here, and then the same thing, second point. So now that's split there and there. So now what I can do is take this line and set it on my 1A bottom of curve. And then I can set this line on my 1A top back of curve. And then we can take these lines and we set those on the gutter. I'll come down, put those on the gutter layer. I'm going to take this line. It's going to be my bottom of curve for my 1B. So bottom of curve for that. And this is my top back of curve. So my top back of curve for my 1B there. All right. So now we got this one. And if we pick that and go to the layer, actually go to our menu, go to view, or sorry, format, layers, layer tools, hide layer, and just pick that, and it hides those layers. Now we come back here, we still have our stakeout. If we turn on all these layers, we now have the curb line for our 1A, 1B, and our gutter pan, and our property line and our construction fence that we could send out and stake out. Now we got a little bit more to add. We want to add some concrete pads and some building pads and maybe the curb, the fuel pump islands and stuff. So we'll add those. But that's kind of the first step is trying to clean up and just get what we need, because we don't need all the other features like the dimensions and all the call outs and the property joiners and all that. We just really just need a little bit of data. But now that we have this data, the next step we want to do is we want to clean this up a little bit and join it, because if you do look in a 3D view, so if I go into a 3D view, you'll see that there's different elevations for everything. And we want to flatten this out. We want to make it so that it's just uh, just all one elevation at zero elevation, and we can add elevations from our grading plan a little bit later. So a little bit long video. You don't have to watch. Hopefully, you didn't have to watch the whole thing. And once you get the hang of it, that's what you want to do. You want to kind of clean it up to get to this stage with the data that we're working for, or we're working with.